That's the frustration that I have.
And we don't
Right.
they're
I think you got to.
they're grossly inadequate and incompetent. We wouldn't want to say that for sure. But go ahead.
Right. And I think for me, one thing I've learned, because I went through the same process, for example, in Minnesota, the statute is that child support is calculated on no more than 40-hour work week, right? But when mine was calculated, the issue became it got calculated off my tax returns as opposed to my pay stub. So it included all my other businesses and stuff in that calculation, right? But then when my attorney went to argue it, he was basically arguing that, oh, instead of 800, this is just an example, it should really be 600. Well, that was not the real issue. But the court, that was the issue that was filed before the court. Well, the court looked at it and said, well, it's not more than 20%. So they may have abused their discretion, but it doesn't meet the threshold. As opposed to arguing that, wait a minute, he gave you his paycheck. Why did you use that? Was the financial affidavit required to make the calculation. The taxes is for support if you can't understand the paycheck. But there was never any issue with the paycheck, so he never brought that issue up.
Yeah.
So now I'm sitting back like, oh, this is how you try to play me? You know, so now I understand that better now. Of course, I understood this 2 years after the orders came out.
Yeah. But all income is still considered income to you.
Right, but not over 40 hours work a week.
He's saying statutorily is
statutory speaking
in Minnesota.
Yes,
it's limited to 40 hours.
Because this was the issue where it was like guys were getting put on child support, but they will get an extra job to catch up, make the payments. Well, now they will include all that payments, so you would never be able to catch up.
So are you saying in Minnesota a second job technically would not be included in income for child support?
Yes, as long as
not that delay.
What?
The maximum is 40 hours.
Right. That's what I'm saying. As long as your prime, or you can prove that one job is a maximum of 40 hours, anything outside of that cannot be included.
But you can have two part-time jobs that make 50 hours, but they can only use 40 hours.
Correct. Correct.
Isn't that different in Florida though?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it's your fault you don't live in Minnesota.
In Florida, you fill out a financial affidavit, representing your income.
Yeah.
But the statute says specifically, it outlines it. It's got obviously your primary employment, and then any other income. It outlines it per statute.
Yeah. And just a real quick accounting tip for those that might have their own business. For calculating child support, like, you have your revenue, your money coming in, but then you have all your expenses. A lot of times too, the courts, they look at the revenue versus subtracting out all of your legal expenses. So, as you present your case, just make sure you have your revenue minus all your expenses. And honestly too, any and kind of everything that you can think of is an expense, you can correlate that back to your business. So cell phones, if you buy a bag of chips and you're driving on the road to go do whatever you're doing for your business, all of that is a legal tax deduction. So just keep that in mind, that that's an expense, and you can essentially waive down your overall operating income at the end of the day.
Appreciate that, Rick. And by the way, not forget it, if you get a chance to contact Rick to do, if you're unable to do it yourself, I'm sure that he's going to make himself available at some point to provide at least nominal services. If not, we're going to try to do something a little bit more broadly to help as many people as possible, because the miscalculation, and I don't have any proof, and so it's kind of speculative, so take it with that grain of salt. I find it difficult to believe that these miscalculations are unintentional, particularly on this scale.
Agreed.
And so that I'm careful in saying this is that, again, I think that every case has a miscalculation, especially if there's more than one child, or more than one child and more than one other parent, because there's just too many variables. And we learned that from the great Tiger, because of his situation. You said something earlier, Rick, about it would be a downscaling after the second child, and so on and so forth. That would require that the agency would bring a person back and then have to readjust every time a new case came up with a person who had previous cases.
That's
And
100% correct.
okay, so then it's impossible, and not impossible, it's improbable that a agency that has, whether you call them auditors, adjusters, or what have you, whatever, I don't know what you all would call them properly, in place to ensure that the accounting is proper, because these courts have these financial affidavits that they submit through the clerk, not financial affidavits, what's it called? The clerk's affidavit of arrears. Well, that affidavit of arrears is, well, because it's an affidavit sworn to, that number is supposed to be correct. You can challenge the number. The number should be correct based upon a set of mathematical principles. Correct, Rick? Rob,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, I agree.
Why'd you say how you say in the hearing, Greg?
What did I say? Wait, what did I say?
I refuse to believe you're this incompetent.
That I don't remember that part, but okay. But yeah, it just it's impossible. And you know, and by the way, for everybody listening, you have math guys that are here that in some cases can donate their time in certain areas to help you see things from a perspective that obviously I wasn't able to help a lot of people, many people reach. I want to see more people win. I want to see more people get this relief. One, I think we're headed for some bumpy times for some people who are not on the higher end of the economic spectrum, like oddly enough, the people who are speaking to you on this platform. And I damn sure ain't me. But the other guys who are speaking on the platform may be able to do some of this. But there's some guys who these, if anything happens, you know, this child support thing can send people to the poorhouse, or, you know, to some any other set of psychological disadvantages of places, dark places.
Or that resort.
Yeah, I forgot that one. The 6 months and 529.
All inclusive resort.
Exactly. Unfortunately, Melissa, you wanted to add something real quick before I try to run away again? If she's still there, I think I hit the right one.
Yeah, she's
Yeah, you're there, Melissa.
Yeah, and now I'm trying to remember exactly what, because like so much has taken place since I was asking. The squirrels in my brain. I have no idea. All the talk, I'm like, I have a notepad with a bunch of other questions, because like everybody brings up really good points. There's so much information. Like, this is really beneficial.